Imagine being shot in the head twice, and instead of taking you to the hospital, the officers interrogate you for hours, and they think you are the killer. This is the story of Ryan Waller and Heather Quan. It's December 2006 in Arizona, and Ryan Waller, 18 years old, and his girlfriend, Heather Quan, who is 21, are just living their lives. They're a normal couple, they have normal plans, and a normal Christmas coming up. Ryan is supposed to show up at his dad's house for the holidays, but he never arrives, and nobody knows it yet, but something has already gone horribly wrong. Sometime around Christmas Eve, two men show up at Ryan's home. One of them is a former roommate, and what happens next lasts seconds. There were gunshots, and Ryan is shot in the face and head. He shot twice. Heather is murdered inside the home, and then the house is left in silence. The attackers leave, believing no one survived, but they were so wrong. For days, Ryan is still alive inside the house. He's confused, injured, bleeding and barely conscious, with his girlfriend's body nearby. He doesn't even fully understand what happened. Meanwhile, his family is panicking. It's Christmas, and he was supposed to be there. So his father calls the police for a welfare check. When officers finally arrive and they enter the home, what they find changes everything. Heather is sadly deceased, but Ryan is still alive, but barely. His face is badly injured. One eye is swollen, completely shut. He doesn't make full sense when he talks. He looks exhausted, like he can barely stay awake. And instead of immediately treating this like a critical medical emergency, Ryan is taken in for questioning. And this is where the case becomes controversial. He's seated in front of detectives. He's slumped in his chair. His head keeps dropping forwards. At times, he literally looks like he's drifting in and out of consciousness. He repeatedly asks to lie down, to sleep, to rest, but the questioning continues. Officers begin asking him what happened. Ryan tries to respond, but it comes out fragmented. He loses his train of thought mid-sentence. He forgets words. He pauses for long stretches like he's trying to physically find the answers in his mind. At times, he gives answers that don't fully connect. Not because he's being evasive, but because his brain is injured. Detectives, however, interpret this differently. They challenge him. They press him harder. They point out inconsistencies. They tell him things don't add up. There's a clear tone of suspicion in the room. At one point, Ryan becomes visibly frustrated, not defensive, but confused, like he can't understand why they aren't listening. And through all of this, Ryan keeps trying to say one thing. A name keeps coming up. The ex-roommate. At one point, Ryan becomes visibly frustrated, not defensive, but confused, like he can't understand why they aren't listening. And through all of this, Ryan keeps trying to say one thing. A name keeps coming up. The ex-roommate. But every time he says it, it comes out weak, broken, repeated. What the officers don't fully realize is this. They are interviewing someone with severe traumatic brain injury, a gunshot wound to the head, and possibly brain swelling. He is actively deteriorating in front of them. Even his physical condition keeps getting worse during the interview. His speech slows further. His awareness drops, and still, questioning continues. Only later do medical scans reveal the truth. Ryan isn't intoxicated. He isn't manipulating answers. He isn't being difficult. He has been shot in the head twice. Eventually, doctors scan his head, and the truth becomes clear. Ryan didn't just survive a shooting, he survived 2 bullets to the brain, fragments still inside him. He has severe brain damage. Once investigators actually listen to Ryan's fragmented statements, they follow the name he keeps repeating, the name of his former roommate. That leads to Richie Carver and his father, Larry Carver. And finally the truth comes out. The 2 men were responsible for the attack where Heather was murdered and Ryan was left for dead. Both Richie and Larry Carver are eventually convicted, sentenced to life in prison. But for Heather's family, there is no real closure, only justice after an unimaginable loss. Ryan survives, but he never fully recovers. He was left with brain damage, memory loss, loss of vision, and seizures. His life was permanently changed from that night. And years later, he dies in 2016 after a seizure. He was only in his 20s. The questions that we're left with is, how do you sit across from someone who's been shot in the head and not realize they are the victim? This case isn't just about a crime, it's about what happens when everything goes wrong in the worst possible way at the worst possible time. Before we end this, it's important to remember that this wasn't just a shocking true crime case. It was a real tragedy that took the life of Heather Quan and forever changed the life of Ryan Waller. After surviving the attack, Ryan lived for years with the devastating effects of the gunshot wounds he suffered that night. Many people continue to discuss this case because of the questions it raises about how his injuries were handled and whether the signs of a serious medical emergency should have been recognized sooner. Today, let's take a moment to remember Heather and Ryan, not as a viral story or an interrogation video, but as 2 young people whose lives were stolen by an act of senseless violence. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you think the outcome could have been different? And why do you think this case continues to resonate with so many people years later? I would really like to know your thoughts about this case. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, stay safe.